welcome to another episode of Raven's Nest. If this is your first time tuning in, I am Raven.
And I am Raven.
And this week, we are discussing Black professionals in honor of Black History Month. Today, we have two special guests. We have
Chidozie Rph.
And what is your title?
Pharmacist, PharmD.
Okay, and
Kierra, and I'm a nurse practitioner, and I practice in family medicine.
Woo! Yeah. Thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I guess the first thing is, what made you guys decide to get into this field, in your fields?
Yeah, so a couple things for me, but I think mine I wish I had this amazing story, but I don't. In all reality, my mom, she's the youngest of 11, 12, 13 kids.
Oh, wow.
And so with being the youngest child, that comes with, obviously taking care of your brothers and sisters. And as I was growing up, we just stayed in the hospital. It was like constantly her sister passing away, her brother passing away. And so we stayed in the hospital, whether it be in Chicago, Arkansas. We were just flying back and forth between here in Texas as well. And so I felt like that's all I knew was the hospital. Like I said, it's not this amazing, glamorous story, but that I just felt comfortable there. And so that's kind of what made me go into the field. And then, of course, helping other people as well. Became an RN, but then I quickly realized that being an RN in a hospital setting per se, a lot of my work, I just didn't see it come to fruition. You would take care of a patient and then put in your 12, 16 hours and you go home, you come back and they're not there the next day. It's like all your work is kind of wasted.
And you don't see the results.
Exactly. And so I'm like, what can I do to still stay in this space but yet still get some kind of affirmation that what I did is working for my patient, or I can see the trend either up or down. I can have them call back, that kind of thing. I just didn't get that in the hospital. So I was like, I have to go back to school to be able to follow a certain, like geriatric, pediatrics, just a certain group of people, because I want my work to be fruitful. I don't want it to be wasted.
So what is the difference between a nurse and a nurse practitioner?
Yeah, so a nurse is just an RN, not just an RN, but a registered nurse. And they do not have the rights to practice medicine. They don't have the rights to write any medical scripts, prescriptions, that kind of thing. And they really don't follow the patients. So RNs are usually most of the time in the hospital. There are some clinics that hire RNs. But for the most part, they can't work independently as far as opening up clinics per se to write scripts. But nurse practitioners, we can pretty much have every right medical-wise. And we can pick, obviously, which specialty we want to work in. So there's a little difference, but usually the rights is what makes it a little bit different.
Yeah. I am still just shocked. So you were a RN, and then you went back into school. So you were still working as an RN and in school. That is a lot.
Full time. No loans, though, right? Whew. I didn't get any loans. I paid off all my loans. So I have no loans.
That's amazing.
For real.
Yeah.
So you get to reap the benefits.
Exactly. And, it's one of the benefits, too. And then it's also a requirement. So, people always ask, well, what's the difference between a nurse practitioner and a doctor? It's the same thing. Well, with doctors, you can go straight from high school to med school. But for nurse practitioners, you have to have at least a year or two, depending on what school you're going to, of RN experience first.
Wow.
I had 6 years of RN experience first. Then I decided to go back to school to be a nurse practitioner. And then I decided to figure out what specialty I wanted to be in. I wanted to do geriatrics, which is kind of 50, 60 and above. And then I realized it wasn't the best marketing strategy as far as like getting a job. So I ended up in family medicine, and I love it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And what about you, Mr. Chidozie?
So my story, like you, like my mom, my inspiration, grew up in Nigeria, born and raised, and she practiced pharmacy in Nigeria. So from a young age, I'll be there helping her in the pharmacy, counting pills, watching her in her occupations.
What?
Yeah, different labor laws back there. So I'll be in there counting, and that was my only exposure to the medical field, also the healthcare field. And coming to the U.S., I began in business.
What?
Yeah, I was in information systems as my
That's a
major.
huge
That's
difference.
amazing, though.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing, like, I applied to university in Nigeria, and I wasn't given the major as pharmacy. I was given biology. And unlike in the U.S., where I can switch majors easily, you can't switch to Nigeria.
But wait,
that
you
easily.
said given, so they gave it to you?
Yeah, so you do the exam, and based on your score, they might say, we think you're better in this field.
Oh,
wow.
my gosh.
Yeah, it's called JAMB, the exam.
Wow.
all that stuff, yeah. And I guess my score wasn't high enough to go into
Get
pharmacy.
outta
I wasn't
here.
that
That's
smart.
crazy.
Yeah, but coming to the U.S., my brother was like, you can do pharmacy again. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. So after my first semester in business, I was like, I'll do pharmacy. Because that's what I know healthcare-wise, my only, like, exposure to a career. So I did the undergrad, and I finished all that. I went to pharmacy school, and I graduated, and I went to the community setting as a pharmacist. And, I mean, I would say that because of immigration purposes. If I was like an American citizen back then, I would have gone into industry. So I worked for, like, the pharmaceutical company. That's my interest. I would look like the corporate world, that look. But because of immigration purposes, I thought it was easier to get my career done with immigration through the community setting. So that's why I lived in Alaska for a while. I told that from So I went there for sponsorship. Yeah.
You lived in Alaska?
Isn't it so cool?
It is. And cold.
like,
I got cold listening. I mean,
no, I mean it's cold.
Where there's no
but,
sun
like,
ever?
No, we do
Is
have
that what
sun.
because that's what I hear.
No, we do have sun. So I think you have, 3 months, if my Alaskans are watching right now, 3 months of constant sunlight.
Oh.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an experience, but I freaking loved my
Yes,
experience
because
there.
I want to go out there for the summer because the summer days are so much longer because it's just sun. So 3 o'clock in the morning, we still.
girl, I know.
That'll be my next stop, then.
No, but I did think about going to Alaska. It was cruise-wise, though. But I saw it, I was like, oh, well, that seems cool. And I'm like, but then the thought of, like, a cruise, like, swimming and then going to Alaska, like, it just didn't sit well with me. Stop.
You should go.
I might try. Okay, so how did you keep yourself motivated through all your years of school? Like, and how did you balance everything, like work, especially now that I know being an RN, working, your social life, just everything combined.
I guess everyone's different. For me, and my parents can say this, I'm the only child, but my mind and my thought process, I always look way down the line. If you tell me or ask me, what am I doing tomorrow? I have no idea. But I always have a 3 to 5 year plan set up. So when, I thought about going to nursing school, there was no other option. I didn't have any other interest. There was no plan B for me. So that was one thing. I didn't have a whole lot of options just because my interest didn't go that far, right? So that's one thing. Just for advice for anyone else, I would try to narrow down your focus, right? Because that will keep you going far. If you're interested in A, B, and C, and D, the likelihood of you going farther is a little bit less likely, right? The second thing is I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a nurse practitioner. So I knew I didn't want to stop at RN. That was never even the goal was to be an RN. The goal was to be a nurse practitioner, but I knew I had to be an RN first, obviously, before I became a nurse practitioner. So I knew the logistics behind of what I needed to do first before I proceeded. And then the promise. And I think I can say this is a promise that I gave myself. I promised myself that if I can have a certain lifestyle, and I'm not talking about money or finances, I'm talking more so about like just a peace mindset, to know that you don't have to worry about anything because I'm done. I'm living the life that I want to. I'm playing, I'm working, but it's a hobby for me at this point. It doesn't feel like a job. And I knew my time frame of school would be about 13 years. And I went to school for 12 to 13 years, and I was satisfied with it because I knew at the end there would be some kind of peace that I kind of imagined, and I didn't really know what it felt like, but the hunger of trying to figure out what that peace felt like kept me going.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And a good amount of friends, like 2, 3, good amount of friends that could keep you balanced. But, part of my school, I was here in Dallas. And then another part of my school, I was at Texas Tech, but I was in Abilene. I wasn't in Lubbock. And ain't nothing out there.
I was about to say, oh my gosh, I've been there.
With some wind and a little red dust. I mean, so that can keep you focused because nothing's out there.
Girl, that can keep me running because that's what I do.
Right.
Oh my God.
So it all depends also about where you set yourself up for school too, because I know a lot of people that are interested in the medical field or people that I'm mentoring, they're like, I can't stay focused. It's like, well, you go to a party school and you're partying and you have 5 people in your dorm. So for me, I had an apartment. I never had a dorm. I made sure not to have a dorm for that sole purpose so I wouldn't get sidetracked.
Ooh, girl, you were like headstrong, focused. Yes.
Yep, I didn't care.
It planned. Y'all,
it worked
if we got any young people watching, take some notes, okay?
For real.
That is what's up.
I'm finna take some notes.
Seriously, Honestly, like, because
It's a
I'm an
lot.
actor, and some of the things you're saying, I'm like, yes, I need to put this towards my acting life.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
It's just about creating a dream for yourself. I didn't know what that dream looked like, but I know if I could get to that dream, I would be at peace. And right now, I'm not worrying about anything. I'm living the life I want. I don't have any debt like I talked about earlier. I made sure to pay off all my debt before I moved to the next step, and that's another good tip too, because then it makes the dream much sweeter. If you know you're a nurse practitioner, a doctor, a PA, a pharmacist, and you have $500,000 in loans, it doesn't make it as sweet, you know. So it's just about setting yourself up to absorb as much as that dream as you kind of focus for in the beginning. So
Okay.
yeah.
So I definitely have that problem that you were talking about. That whole, narrow down your dream. I'm very, and I've noticed this about a lot of people like that. I'm a very creative person.
Yeah.
She is.
I'm a very artsy person. So with that being said,
Check out, what's your Instagram?
you said my Instagram? Oh, the other Instagram.
Yeah.
Modern Moms, because I have a personal and then I have a,
Yeah.
Modern Moms Designs.
Oh,
So hit her up for all your needs as well.
Check it out.
So with that being said, I be everywhere because I love doing some of everything. So those dreams of
That's a good thing, though. But I'll tell you when we get to another question where that was the downfall for me. Because I was too focused, I lost out on some opportunities, and I could have got here faster, and I just didn't because I was too focused on one thing, and I didn't spread my wings wide enough. So we'll get there.
See, my wings are like, I have like 5 different things that I like. I'm focused on like 5 different things, and that's honestly probably why I get so overwhelmed sometimes because I do like to do a lot of
and you're
different
good
things.
at probably everything, and that's
Yeah,
where sometimes it sucks too, where you're like, man, I don't know which one I'm good at
Because
because I'm
people
good at all.
told me over the years, like, oh, I was making tutus, like when, like, and they were in bows for my
Yeah.
daughter. She was in dance and she was in cheer and birthday parties for tutus, and they was like, oh, you should do that. You should open a boutique, and I'm like, and then I do something else, and they're like, oh, you should do that, and I'm like. Like it's
And not
fun.
everybody can do that though.
Yeah.
Not everybody can jump on every opportunity. I know I can't. Like I said, my mindset is where I can't think that fast. Like I can't think of, okay, let me do this tomorrow and this next month.
I think mine's I think too fast.
There's a talent in all of it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what about you, sir?
Well, for me, staying focused, I would say my mom. She inspired me. That's one.
These moms, man.
Yeah, I know. Like, for real, the
moms.
Seriously.
Like I am so thankful. My brothers, they're very supportive. Giving me that environment to grow and just focus.
Any of them were pharmacists? Or?
No, just me. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
So how many brothers do you
Pressure.
have?
I have 3 older brothers. I'm the youngest. I have 3 older brothers. They're all in business/engineering and only like science C1. And I think it's because watching them and seeing how my dad just put that pressure on us to do good in school. Nigerians in general, you're focused to focus in school.
Oh, we know.
Like school, like school is, and I think knowing where I came from and just knowing that failure wasn't an option. Honestly, like not able to say, oh, if I didn't have an option.
No, it legit.
Like, if you don't do well and you don't get this farm, what are you going to do? Like, what would you go back to?
Like even though you had an option, they didn't have an option for you.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I knew I had to like do this and be the best. Even like
Yeah.
applying to pharmacy schools, for example. I've never not liked school. Like I've always like that's my thing. I'm not street smart. I'll say it. But I can do school.
Yeah.
So applying to colleges for pharmacy school, they're like, hey, in Texas, are you gonna change status soon? Because we look at Texans first and then Americans before international.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was like, no.
What?
Like there's
No, I
no
didn't think about
plan. I'm gonna
No
move
plan
forward.
B.
Yeah, so I had to go to Massachusetts and for school. So I knew that okay, I'm competing with Americans. I have to be my best self academically and all around. Just do your best. So just being focused in that way, knowing that there's no other option. And thankfully, I had friends. And knowing what you said, like you missed out. My very first party in college was my graduation party.
What?
Yes, I never partied in college, and I regret that today because that's social. Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I never
yeah.
went to a Texas Tech football game.
And I mean, that's pretty
miss
big.
all of
That's a
them.
big college.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
No sororities.
Nothing.
You have no time.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a cousin that's actually supposed to be on here today with us. But
Oh, yeah.
she actually is in a sorority, and I'm still curious as to how she's.
Was able to pull that
Yeah,
off.
she's a
Yeah.
doctor,
That's-
and
oh.
and I'm like, how?
Was
Yeah.
it a social one or like professional one?
What doctor?
Was
No,
it
the sorority? Was it a social sorority or a professional sorority?
like was she in sorority while she was in school, or was it until after she graduated?
No, she was in school.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
That's a lot.
And people do it though.
Yeah.
It does have that right balance.
She's a Delta, so she was in all through school. So
Shout out to
just-
Delta.
but yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I get that, and I honestly, again, that's probably where
Well,
I did-
sometimes that feeds into helping with school too, because sometimes and you can probably attest to this too. Like when you're studying, you're like, dang, I ain't got no social life.
Yeah.
I'm just studying every day, like no friends, and the friends I have, like they have the same exact. It can get dry sometimes, so it's good to have the social interaction. Just unfortunate that the schools that I went to, either AKAs or Deltas, they were off the line because it was hazing. So I didn't have the opportunity. And when I went to another school, it was an Abilene campus, and they didn't have any sororities there, so I missed out on those opportunities. But I think it was all God's aligning for me, because I would have. I don't know if I would have been able to make it per se. And then that goes for HBCUs too. I mean, it was limited. I wanted to go to HBCU, but I couldn't because I couldn't get into those schools. Believe it or not.
What?
You know why? Or
And this kind of goes back to what you were saying. Putting my eggs all in one basket kind of messed me up. And I kind of let other people get in my head when I applied to nursing school per se. Nurse practitioner school was a breeze. It was so easy for me. But being getting a bachelor's degree in RN, it was probably the hardest thing in my life. I had a 4.0. Getting in, everyone was like, "Oh, you got a 4.0. Like you're great. You're smart. You can just apply to one school and you'll get in."
No.
Applied to one school, did not get in.
Right.
Had to wait an entire year. Now I think you can apply to nursing school at least twice a year. Had to wait an entire year to do nothing, just apply it again. But, lesson learned. The next time I then applied to 4 or 5 schools and not just think that my grades were going to get me in, because that wasn't enough for Prairie View.
Wow.
no, I feel it because it was a pharmacy school. I applied like one.
And that's a party
one
school, so
category.
it was all a part
Yeah,
of God's
it
plan.
definitely was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's God's plan, but I wish, and I always give other people this influence that make sure you apply to more than one school.
More than one, yeah. Yeah, because you never
That
know
messed
why
me
you'll
up.
be rejected from one school.
Yeah.
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 Always have a backup plan.
Always. So yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, so with it being Black History Month, do you guys ever feel you are being judged for your skin when dealing with some of your patients? If so, you have any stories or anything you want to share?
I'll let you take this on
What? Being judged, I will say, okay, I'll give 2 things. So whenever I meet people, I don't typically say, I'm a pharmacist, just to get their perspective. I work in a pharmacy. And I don't know why the first thing that always
Pharmacy
comes
tech.
out next, you're a technician? Yeah. I'm like, I never said I was a technician. Why is that your first choice?
I'm the medical assistant all the time, getting the vitals.
Yeah. And I don't know why that's what
I mean,
it is.
I can tell you
could
what.
Right. We can assume it because you're black or maybe because I look young. People think someone called me a high schooler at work a few months ago. I'm
Okay,
like,
I'm not
what?
gonna lie. Walking up, I was like, "This is like one of the professionals." Because again, high school, I give that to them.
Right.
I can't. I definitely.
So that is 2 reasons why I'm not sure exactly which one is the reason. But I've
Yeah.
had people like decline counseling from me. You don't know what you're talking about. Yes. They look at me like, no, don't talk to me.
Oh
There's
my
no
gosh.
way you know any
Yeah.
information.
And in Alaska, like, I love Alaska, no beef with Alaska. But I notice whenever I'm working and I look up, people are staring at me. And I'm like,
Watching your
Okay,
every
and I'm-
single move.
They're probably like, "What are you doing back there? You should be at school."
right. And I asked the coworker, I was like, do you notice people are like staring at me? And he tells me, okay, not to make you feel weird, but they've never seen someone like you back here before.
Yeah.
So, like, you're their only experience.
Yeah.
I was like, no pressure, right? So,
Right?
Right.
So I was like, okay, I get it. But in terms of, I'm sure some people have. I've never
Yeah.
had direct, you're a black man, I hate you.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
working here. But you can sense
can-
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And with the language that they use, you can tell, okay.
Yeah, like you-
Exactly.
I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
So
So for me, once again, I would, I wish I had the most popular answer, but to be honest, and I'm pretty sure other people can attest to this too, I actually get more flack from my own people.
What?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah, I get a lot of pushback from my own people. My other ethnicities of patients, breeze, no problem. Or like you said, I can kind of tell there's a vibe. But I think that's part of our profession to not convince them, but to show that no matter what color I am or how young I look, if I look 12, 21, 37, I still have the knowledge is power.
Right.
It's all about
I
how
have
you
this
speak.
certification and all this other kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I earned this.
exactly. And you have to come in the room with a certain vibe. You do. And that's, I think some people lack that. But for the most part, I know because I'm young, and because I'm Black, that I have to assert myself when I come in the room with my patients, and I gotta have my.
So you feel as though you have to work harder than other ethnicities?
Do I feel like I have to work? Yes, to prove myself, but it really goes back to. It's like deciphering. Is it because I look 12 or is it because I'm Black? I never know. I never had an encounter.
But that pressure is there. I think. I wouldn't phrase it as work twice as hard per se. But I think there's this pressure on you to prove a point.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to meet the next professional and think, oh, that person is.
Exactly.
This
And don't let
stereotype.
you be new. Cause
Right.
Because they're already
Thank
going to
you.
shut it down.
I was a pharmacist for 5 years before coming to Alaska, 4
Yeah.
years. And people told me, do you know what you're doing?
Ah.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
been with the company for 4 years now. I can
Exactly.
do the job.
Or they just don't understand the prerequisites to get there. Like for me, they're like, well, did you make that decision straight out of high school? Well, no, I had to go to school for this amount of time. Then I had to work for this amount of time as an RN. Then I went into school and now I'm here, but I'm not new per se.
It's levels to this.
Yeah. And I don't, let me know how you feel, but I don't know what it is about us. I'm like, sis, I'm here to help you. Let me just check your labs.
It's funny you're saying that because that's one of the questions Raven has as well, but I'll let her get to it.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Wait, which was
You were saying, oh my gosh, you were saying shoot. Oh, it's Black History Month. With that being said, in your field, how do you feel us in the Black community can do better about taking care
of our health?
of our health and just dealing with you guys?
Yeah, dealing with whatever field you're in. How do you feel like us as Black people can benefit more with knowledge, with knowledge of your field?
I can say true to your word. And I mean that because I see a lot of I got to have a Black doctor. I got to have a Black this and a Black that. But then there's no trust. It's like they're trying to pressure us or trying to test us the whole time. Like I said, I don't have the popular answer where I get flack from other ethnicities. I just don't, especially, at least where I work per se. But when I am in the room with another Black professional, I get the look up and down. I get the stare the entire time. I get all the detailed questions, which is great. But I just feel like if you want to have a Black provider, allow them to be a Black provider, because I really pay attention to preventative care for especially, Black Americans. There's certain blood pressure medications, a medication called chlorothalidone, which is a diuretic, which is, usually a lot better for us minorities. And I don't see that started on a lot of us. And I try to make sure that they're aware that I have their best interest in because of their ethnicity.
I love that.
And sometimes it's a fail, to be honest, because they don't want to be looked at as a minority. I'm like, well, that's what you are. That's what I am. I'm not stereotyping you, but because I'm Black and you're Black, I'm going to make sure you have the medications that are suited for your ethnicity. But sometimes, like I said, there's a lot of, well, how do you know? And, well, my other doctor didn't put me on this. And I'm like, so now I'm sitting here explaining myself with facts that they could look up. But it's a lot of pushback, unfortunately.
Yeah, as well as I know they've probably had to see, for example, they'll say during childbirth, Black women are higher risk of dying.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, and of course we don't know, but, it said that they don't really care about us.
Yeah.
You're coming to a Black provider. Why did you come here?
To test me. Exactly. Exactly. And, I get it, because at the end of the day, it's health. So no matter what ethnicity you're going to see for a PCP or for a pharmacist for counseling, you want your trust to be in their hands. You're just trusting them.
Your life is in their hands, and I get that.
Yeah.
But I do understand what you're saying, because I've either been around someone, I don't pretty much judge my own people when I'm but it's how they, honestly, like you said, it's about the professionalism. It's about how you handle yourself. Because if you come to me and you're talking just because I'm Black and you're talking to me,
the lingo.
The lingo. And it's just like, do I really want you putting together my medication, or I don't really want you touching me.
Exactly.
No, like, why are you saying this? And I'm already that type of person. I was telling you that earlier. So if you're talking a certain way or you're not carrying yourself professionally, I'm going to question it. But I've been around people who, again, none of those things have happened and they still are questioning because you're black. And again, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Again, stick by your word. Like,
Exactly.
if you want a black pride, if you want to support the black community, try to trust them. They went to school just as long as their white counterparts or whatever.
And we pay attention. And I'm sure you can say the same. When we're in school, we low-key pay attention to things that are really geared towards us. And we keep that in our back pocket. We don't sit up here and say it in class, but we pay more attention. I know when I was studying, I studied more of those things for us. Because I knew I wanted to be the best example as a provider in family medicine. If I had a black patient, I want them to know that I know what I'm doing for them, best for them. So, I mean, it's probably a unverbalized thing, but black providers, black people in the medical field as a pharmacist as well, we pay more attention to things that are geared towards us than others.
Because they don't teach you that in school.
Yeah.
Like, all the textbooks and the teachings are geared from history towards, like, white people. So that's the majority.
Yeah.
And then as we grew and became more progressive, we became more knowledgeable about, like, other ethnicities.
Yeah.
Blacks, Hispanics, Asians,
Yep.
what diseases they're more prone to, things like that.
Exactly.
And it only benefits us when we trust us.
Agreed.
In that way. But I will push back a little bit, just not like push back, to add.
Yeah.
I think your experience with that would also add by you being female.
Yes.
That's another thing, too.
And that's
Ooh.
the fact. You're black and you're female.
And young.
Black, female, and young.
Yeah, that's just like the trifecta. Like, you're done. You know,
Yep.
game over. Like, why trust you? So you have to
Yeah.
establish yourself in a better way. Like,
Exactly.
for me, I get, like, hails from across the counter. Another strong black man behind the counter. I'm like,
Yeah, I've never
like,
had a
please.
fist.
I'm like,
I wish.
what? I began my career in North
Does
Carolina.
that offend you, though?
Oh, no. I'm like, oh my God, please. I'm like, please, not here.
Yeah.
You know, he comes in like, yeah, another brother behind the counter. I'm like, no. No. Like, no. You know, it began there. And as I went through my career in North Carolina and in Texas here, I see people here like,
Yeah.
another black person.
Yeah.
You know,
That's encouraging.
But and you know what?
It is.
That is black people.
is.
Anytime we see, we be like, and that's a black person.
And
That's
behind,
Yeah.
a young black, this older lady was like, a young black man behind the counter. I was like, ma'am, please, no.
You gotta eat you alive. I'd be like, security, can you work with
But also, he has said too, where people are like, "Oh, well, I have a daughter," you know.
That is my mom. Oh my God, my mom.
See?
It's not even just me. She's like,
Yeah.
I have a daughter, I have a niece, I have a cousin,
Yeah.
I have a
Right.
You
And
know,
they,
my-
they get
my
their
friends,
phone
how
out,
old
they
are
pull
you?
up the picture.
Yes.
They take 10 minutes
Lord,
to find
that's
the
my mom.
I was
picture.
like, I didn't want to.
That is my
Yeah.
mom to the
Yeah.
fullest.
Yep.
I'm like, we'll be in the store. We can pass somebody that's attractive, and she'll be like, well, he look like he's your cousin. Like, mama, leave that man alone. Like, no, come here.
The matchmaker. Like,
For real.
instantly.
She's like, I got a picture. Right, pull up her Instagram. I'm like,
That's funny.
Yeah. But I think those of us in the black community for sure needs to be more aware.
Of
Like,
course.
education is key. Like, we don't know, and I know how I guess you're nosy. It's beneficial. Yeah, no, it's beneficial because the more you know, the better you are.
Yeah. The
and
better
that's what I was
questions
telling
you
him
ask.
earlier. I
too.
said, honestly, my nosiness does not just. It's not just towards people's business or I was like, it's everything. It's everything. So I love to learn and I love to know because honestly, I don't like looking stupid, sounding stupid. So I'd prefer to know. That way, if somebody else comes up to me and asks me this or talks about this, I know what I'm talking about. Like, I want to be able to engage in a conversation with around whoever I'm with. So,
And
Same
I
here.
think having us in the field is so beneficial because then we do have the opportunity to educate for the people that are willing to listen.
and
Right.
we look out and we
Right.
look out for each
Listen.
other. Like, because everybody knows, like, the world today, it's been known that everyone doesn't always look out for black people the way they should. So when it's us in these fields, like, take advantage of that because those people are, I mean, they're part of the community. They're part of, so yeah, they know.
Yeah. I think it's an important thing. You know, with my minority patients, there's certain labs that I will check that I probably won't check on somebody else. I may check your vitamin D versus somebody else. I probably won't check their vitamin D. I may actually get your colonoscopy at 45 just because you're black, but somebody else 50. Just because I know what we're higher prevalent in.
Right.
Look, girl, you might make me change my provider. I'm not gonna lie to you. Which she's black as well.
For real, but what?
But like, seriously, because I love love that. I really
Yeah.
do. And it's something else you were saying, like they don't trust you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that. I mean, all the way from my eye doctor to the gynecologist, I trust them. I feel like we are friends. Like
Yeah.
they be
It's a comfort level too.
doing my vaginal exam. I'm talking to them. Like for
Yeah.
real. Like but I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
That's how I want to
Y'all check her out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is
Did we kind of do that?
so do we cover the knowledge one? Okay, cool.
So
What advice do you give others aspiring, to be in your field?
To surround yourself with like people. I lost a lot of friends. Not lost, but of course you just kind of
Weed
grew
out.
apart. And it's just, just regular social interaction, day-to-day interaction. You tend to gear towards people that have the similar likings. But to be honest, when I graduated high school, there wasn't a lot of people that was as serious in school as I was. So I kind of went solo for a couple of years until I got into college. And then, of course, I found my group of people. But with that being said, it was still like 2, 3, 4, 5 people. But I knew, and everybody around me in high school knew, I was very serious about my career, even as a junior and senior. I was goofy, but I was serious. I'm still goofy, but, I made sure they all knew I was serious. There was a hyper focus. I only talked about one thing. So my thing for to benefit other people going into a career is to talk into fruition. I've been talking about this since middle school, high school. And to surround yourself with like people if you can. If not, just be okay with it. You're going to do what you got to do, regardless of who's around you or not. That will help you even later in your studies. And then the third thing would be prayer. I think I cried more in school, and I got closer to God more in school than anything. Because there's times where you're studying and you're by yourself, you just don't get it, like you just don't understand it, and all you can do is pray. And yes, I'm a Christian, but I will say I've never gotten as close as I have with God until I went to school and I was out there by myself.
yeah.
So
Because that's a hard thing you face, and it's natural. Whenever you're faced with a challenge or a hard situation, you drop to your knees.
Yeah.
Like whenever things are going good, everything's going really rosy, you don't really have that pressure.
Yeah.
To do it as much.
Yeah, to pray or to be drawn to God.
Yeah.
So it's like part of like life's cycle. That may have been the hardest situation you've been in so far.
yeah.
So it does make sense.
Yeah,
for
Yeah,
you.
it does.
It grows your faith, because then you look back and you're like, how did I even make it through? But there was only one reason, and it was God.
Yeah.
You know,
And
God
like
and
you
me
said, you're
Kierra.
at peace.
Yeah.
And I bet you reflect and you're just like, I can't believe, like, I'm here. I'm actually living my dreams. Oh, love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say for me, if I had to say this gracefully, I would say education. And that's in the collective. So I can say just by one person speaking to the next generation, I think it takes everybody. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and just to digress a little bit, we spoke about education, academics and stuff like that. Why aren't people in the Black community going into like high earning fields like law, nursing, things like really hard careers
Without
per se.
being forced to. with
Without
their
being
parents.
forced to. Yeah. And I said, well, I would think it's more of exposure. If you don't have somebody in your family that's in it, you're less likely to be in it. Like doctors produce doctors, doctors produce doctors, or engineering, or politicians, or musicians. You have somebody to look up to.
Yeah.
But if they're not in your world, you have no reference
It's
point.
harder.
And then he said, boy, you did it. I'm like, don't use me as an example. I was born and raised in Nigeria, for example. And we're we're pressurized to focus on school
Yeah.
from a very early age. You come back home, you were in the first in your class. Are you stupid? Where are all the A's? I know for sure that I was getting A's to please my dad. Shout out, Dad.
We love you, Dad.
To please him, because I felt like he will like me more, or he would accept me more. And that shouldn't be the case. But that's how I thought when I was younger.
Yeah.
So education for sure, making sure people in our community understand that as a group, there are so many opportunities for you out there if you apply yourself. You may just not know what to do, but we need to like bring people in, tell them with this career path, you have this lifestyle, you have
agree.
opportunities here. Because in America, I would say as an immigrant, you have access to so much. As a citizen, you have access to so much. Whether there will be challenges, because of you're Black, I get it. But even as a black man in America, the access you have, or black women, the access you have is greater than the access you have in Nigeria or in Ghana or in Sierra Leone.
And see, the same, honestly, to add to what you said, yeah, you're going to have, even going into certain fields, you're going to have, you know, their struggles being a black person, but you're going to have your struggles being a black person without being in that field.
Right.
So you might as well be doing something that's going to give you the lifestyle that you want, or that's going to suit your life. But it's funny because I was just telling my boys the other day, because they love to half do stuff. Like, it's crazy. What drew me to this conversation with them is the fact that I tell my son to go put this plate up. So I'm upstairs. He grabs the plate, goes downstairs. So I come downstairs, probably about an hour later. I'm downstairs, and the plate is on the coffee table in the living room. And I said, I told you to put the plate in the sink. And he said, oh, okay. Walks out. I go upstairs. I come back downstairs 30-something minutes later. And the plate is on the counter next to the sink. Like, he literally, what's crazy is he literally walked past the sink and put it on the other side of the counter. So, like, you passed where it was supposed to go to. I'm like, why? Like, and they do that a lot, just half doing stuff. Like, and I was like, you got to be the best at whatever you do. Yeah. I'm not saying be the best person putting the dishes up, but at the end of the day, I was like, you have to give it your all. Like, and that's with everything. I was like, I don't care what you decide to do with your life. Make sure you're being the best. And I was trying to explain to them, like, the satisfaction of knowing you did it, knowing you got this accomplished. I was like, it's something about that. I was like, he was like, when I was telling him, I said, you got to do it to make he was like, to make you proud. And I was like, no, make yourself proud. And I was like, because the feeling you get when you make yourself proud is something completely different.
Can take that away from you.
At all. Like, and he was like, oh, so you mean, like, when I make stuff? Like, when I make stuff, I'm like, when I finish, I might be frustrated, like, y'all leave me alone, don't talk to me when I'm doing it. But when I'm finished, it's like,
you're satisfied.
Look what I did. Like, look everybody. So
it's that light under the microwave. That's you're like done.
And I was like, it's something about that I was like, once you get there, you'll know what I mean. And I was like, so just be the best at everything you do. I don't care what it is, but of course I want them to be successful and do stuff to make a lot of money. So, but whatever you do, whatever you love, be the best at it. So.
Yeah, I think that's just important, just in a life aspect. You know, just going through school from start to finish. There's a lot of lows in my life, whether it be depression, anxiety, whatever have you. That was really the only thing that I could stand on. When you feel like you're drowning, you're like, but I'm doing this myself. And nobody, like I said, nobody could take it away from you. So even though I've had a lot of things taken away from me, whether it be for the good or for the bad, I still have this one thing that I can say that I did. And I'm proud of myself for it. I'm very blessed that I was able to get through it and whatever time frame it took me. But nobody has access to those rights because it was me.
Yeah. Straight facts.
Yeah, facts.
Well, anything else y'all want to share? Any stories?
Stories. What kind of stories are you looking for?
Anything.
I have. So I will say something. I was talking to somebody about the other day. So the stereotype of just the field itself, like just take ethnicity out of it. Okay. You know, this kind of goes back to the whole I had a 4.0 but still couldn't get in. I was told as long as you have a 4.0, you'll get in. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about the volunteering. Don't worry about the test taking. Like, you can suck at test taking, but as long as you have the 4.0, you're good. False. So just listening to people and trying to set my pathway to what other people told me was so not right. I missed out on so many opportunities because they were like, oh, do this, don't do that, because I didn't do it, so that therefore you can't do it, right? And that goes to salary too. Just recently I got the biggest pay raise I think I've ever gotten in my life, and it's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is I got exactly what I asked for. The bad thing is I got exactly what I asked for. But only because I was told that, oh, nurse practitioners in Texas, they really kind of top out at this, so you're probably not going to make more than that. But when they're like, yeah, no problem, we'll give you that. And I'm like,
that was too easy. I could have asked for more.
Ask for more, yeah.
Yeah, so I would just, any suggestion, just for life purposes, I thought that because I was black, I had to kind of lowball my salary and put it at what I thought I was worth, but then probably slashed that worth by 10%. And I was just so surprised that they gave me exactly no negotiation. I had my notepad. I had 3 pens. Never even got to open it because they're like, yeah, we see your worth. We know you're doing good.
Wow.
And I left crying because I'm like, why don't I know my worth like that? So I would suggest for anyone in any field you go to just make sure if you think you're worth a certain amount, ask for that certain amount. Or if you think you're worth a certain position, ask for that certain position, because I think, fail ourselves as medical people or personnel because we hear that it's so hard in the field for Black people. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just what we hear.
And then on top of that, closed mouths don't get fed. Like, the
Yeah.
worst they can tell you is no. Like, the worst. And then on top of that, like, again, salaries, I know they will negotiate with you. So ask for what you feel like you're worth. If they don't agree to that, y'all can go back and forth. Y'all can negotiate.
Toe for toe. No.
Ask for what, because I'm going to go toe for toe. No, ask for what, I definitely agree with that. Ask for your worth. Like, ask for what you know that you're worth. Like,
Yeah.
So.
And do your own research. Don't let people tell you can't get into a certain school because of certain grades or certain prerequisites. Do whatever you know is right for your
you.
path. Yeah.
Yeah, like, because a lot of people like
I
to
think
say
that's
that.
a really good advice, because typically that's what we do. Hey, so what happened? Hey, so how
Yeah.
did you, like, you know.
So
and,
you're Black. Let me ask you how you did it, which is great for a reference.
For a reference.
But then
Exactly.
people follow that exact same pathway and they have missed out on other opportunities. And something like you were saying, like the education behind it, I even personally didn't know how many different avenues there were in the medical field until I got in the medical field. Even as an NP, I still didn't know there were so many avenues as an NP until I got there. And so I wish there was, and that's my goal, but my goal is to educate other people that, hey, if you don't want to be a RN, you can be a RN, but be a case manager. You don't have to see the blood all day.
Right.
So there's different other avenues that people, I think, just kind of miss out just because they don't know it's out there. So, yeah.
I want to add and say, using this opportunity or this platform to say that to people in our community, know that you're not a stereotype. And that's the loaded statement with a whole bunch of different things. Right. Well, understand that you're not a stereotype, whatever age you're in.
Yeah.
Be older, middle age, younger. Don't think that, because I'm Black, I have to be like maybe play basketball or go into rap. Like, there are so many different avenues you can apply yourself in.
Yeah.
People tell you, oh, you're not good in school or whatever it is. No, regardless of what race you are, it's up to you, especially for us, we have to work twice as hard. I agree. A Black person, you have to work twice as hard to prove yourself, even half as worthy
Right.
in a lot of certain fields. But know that you're not a stereotype, so work hard. People might mock you. I mean, I got mocked all the time. You're not in school, you're a nerd, whatever. Put your head down, because in the end, you'll be debt free.
Yeah.
You have a good paying job. You have a career or a life that you can sustain. It's hard. You have to put in the work in the beginning. And don't be drawn towards like the popular, just the hype.
Yeah.
Put your head down. Do what you got to do. Be graceful. Whatever level you're in, you represent people.
Yeah.
I've heard, oh, you're not regular Black. What the heck does that mean? Like, it really does irritate me. Because it speaks to society.
Yeah.
And how we've been viewed and how we carry ourselves. So you don't have to be a nurse practitioner, a pharmacist, a doctor, a pilot to say that, that I'm established.
Yeah.
You could be without a job. It's the dignity you carry yourself with that matters even more to people.
Exactly.
Because we speak for ourselves. We speak volumes. People only say what they see. Once they start seeing a positive message from us, the story will change.
I agree.
Exactly.
So that's what we have to do.
I agree.
Exactly.
And support Black, support each other.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Trust your people in the medical field.
Yes,
Please.
yes.
We got your best interests. We really do. And we're learning. Knowledge is power. I say that again over and over. But, practicing medicine, that's essentially what we're doing. Like, we don't know it all. We're still learning, but that's why it's called practicing. So give us some slack.
I feel that.
Well, I thank you guys for joining us. We do have to get ready to wrap
Thank
it up.
you.
Thank you for having us.
It was. I love talking to you.
Yeah,
guys.
I really did. It was
did.
inspirational,
Nice.
educational, all of the
Especially
above.
all of that, especially, and we needed this for Black History Month too.
Yes.
So I thank you guys for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate it.